and would have to be concerned when they can look at the charts and say, gee, you have a spike in LSD and usage in marijuana smoking in these certain towns, and they're the towns with strong SDS chapters, or that's where a lot of political activity is taking place. I mean, there was a relationship between the two.
The policeman has stepped over the demonstrators.
The anti-war movement had its start with the free speech movement in Berkeley. In 1964, they took over a building at the University of California in Berkeley, and the governor responded by sending in the National Guard.
So, of course, we sat down in the door there. Oh, and by the way...
One of the leaders of this student revolt was Michael Rossman, who today lives in Berkeley, California. I traveled there to see if he felt drugs helped or hurt the protest movement.
Waste your batteries already.
How's it going, Michael?
Come on, waste your batteries already.
Good to see you.
Let's see, you said 3 provocative things that I have passed me. Now, you make a lot of assumptions. You lead with your assumptions. But let me ask you, how do I know that you're not an agent provocateur? Okay? How do I know that I should trust you? How do I know that you're not an agent of the above ground or below ground government? The way the provocateurs operated in the 60s and 70s, the way they would come into groups and the personae that they would present was very much like your persona in terms of being, oh, I'm so radical, I'm so groovy, I'm so far out there, you should not even think about whether you want to trust me because I am so trustable. You know, let's entertain this amazing thing. Let's throw a rock at a cop. Let's go smoke where we can get busted. Let's go, you know. True rational.
But you're not a terrorist.
Au contraire. Look magazine, late 1964. Okay. Here I am in the middle of protest here. This is during the FSM, that's me.
Can you point which is you?
That one is me right there.
And where are you in the other pictures?
I'm right here, that's me. This is about me. Me! LSD was all over the place. Many people took LSD. Like marijuana, LSD didn't have an intrinsic flavor. It was like accent, a monosodium glutamate, which you put it in to your food and it heightened or accentuated the flavor of whatever was cooking, okay? When people were cooking sexuality, you put these drugs there and they accentuated that. When people were cooking anti-war activism, you put these drugs around, by and large, they accentuated that. The drugs accentuated the shifts of cultural and political attitude that were going on, by and large, at that time. The currents were so complex they were hard to call. I think you can make a good case for saying that the psychedelics helped build the anti-war movement more than they diminished it or befuddled it. The criminalizing effect of the prosecution of marijuana in the first place and then the psychedelics after LSD was made a criminal substance. When the state made us outlaws, then we collectively became more enemies of the state.
It happened at the University of California where this many students would said they've had enough and they're going to stand up right now. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah.
Paul Krassner was one of the leaders of the Yippies, a 1960 counterculture group that helped spearhead the protest movement that helped end the Vietnam War. Did LSD play a role in the merging of the hippies and the anti-war movement?
Without acid, I don't know if those two groups would have united. Maybe marijuana would have done it. You know, it's hard to know. It's impossible to measure. You know, this is a brainwashed culture, and what LSD did was to serve as a tool to unbrainwash people.
At least 6 people have been injured in a bomb blast in the Baghdad hotel. That blast ripped apart chairs and part of the ceiling at the Four Seasons in central Baghdad. 2 Britons, 2 people from Nepal, and 2 Iraqis were injured in the blast.
What do you think when you watch this news and you think about all the anti-war protesting you used to do? Any reaction to the news you just saw and what you used to do?
It's a different kind of war now. You know, it's like Vietnamese war had an end to it, and this is just the beginning. It's the end of the world. Otherwise, everything's fine.
Don't shop in here. All we're asking for is minimum wage, decent health care benefits. Please don't shop here. Don't shop here. Please boycott this store. Been fighting for justice in this neighborhood for 30 years. It's not only been since the 60s. Of course, there was a lot more action here in the 60s, but we think that people and young people now are starting to think about things and starting to protest again. This is just one sign. We're trying to get minimum wage for the workers here, decent health conditions, and it's all one struggle. What we started in the 60s is still going on.
No more green sweatshop!
No justice!
What influence do you think LSD had on the political movement here in the East Village?
That's a very complicated question. In my opinion, it had a very negative effect in a lot of ways. It got people not thinking on political lines. And then again, it also got people to think about changing the world, and the world was a little bit different. You saw the world a little bit differently. So in some ways it was helpful, but you have to get past and beyond drugs. I don't believe that drugs are the answer to political questions.
How did you guys feel about their protesting?
Oh, protesting?
What did you think about just that?
I think it's good. At least it's something positive. You know, we're doing it and it's affecting them people, so it's like a real good thing. Besides, it's wrong what they're doing anyway.
What do you know about LSD?
What is LSD? Is that
Like,
I think, what do you know?
I don't know.
This girl knows.
On November 25, 2003, Leonard Pickard was found guilty of manufacturing LSD. Pickard was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. The Drug Enforcement Agency claims that inside this former missile silo, Pickard was manufacturing approximately 10 million doses every 5 weeks. 14 canisters of a chemical required to produce LSD, valued at over $1 million, were found at the missile silo. The DE claims that LSD availability in the United States was reduced by 95% in the 2 years following his arrest.
As long as any government can arbitrarily decide which drugs are legal and which are illegal, anybody, as I see it, serving time in prison for drug use is a political prisoner. It's as simple as that.